All right. Well, good morning, Tartaria, Australia. We are doing a special edition today. This podcast is going out to the community. It's actually for you guys specifically, and we're going to tell you a story that's happened this week. And you guys get to have a think about it and make some choices, some personal, individual choices. So, yeah. Good morning, Mr. Purvis. And joining us
Hello,
today is our wonderful and dear friend Edwina
our
and
tour manager
our tour manager.
extraordinaire.
And Edwina's a very dear friend of Campbell's and I, who've been with us on this journey since basically day one at the Melbourne gig, and
Yes.
has stepped up to help us with all of this sort of touring we're doing this year. So welcome, Edwina, first time on the show.
Thank you.
With a special community announcement. And I think soon also we're joined with another dear friend of ours, Asta, who also is a dear friend and someone who works closely with us with TA. She is what we call affectionately our Ghostbuster. But as we learned our lesson at the last Melbourne gig, we have to, actually put some time and focus and intention on protecting the spaces when we all gather.
Mm.
And Asta very beautifully and kindly volunteers her service to clear the spaces before Campbell and I enter a live event, and puts a beautiful golden dome out over ourselves and the audience so that nothing interferes with us and we're safe and sound, having learnt our lesson. Hey, Cam.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we've had lots of people over the years talk to us about that kind of stuff, clearing the space and, protecting it and everything. And, we've done a bit, but we've never really um I jumped right into it, I guess, because, we want to trust everyone. We don't, I guess, don't see the world as, oh my God, there's all these people trying to get us. But yeah, we were in Rockhampton a couple of weeks ago, and we met Paul, who is a shaman, and he came around, basically wanted to come around and talk to us, and really hammered home the point that we need to really start protecting our space, right? Because there are, you know, dark forces, we'll say, who over the years we've seen, right, they've had their eye on us, and they're sort of trying to trip us up at different points. And then I spoke to Paula, most of you know Paula, who I do chats with. And she basically echoed the exact same message to us. And it was a lot about, connecting with ancestors, but really just witches were mentioned, right? And that were looking at us, and they just, yeah, the message was you need to protect yourself. And that was interesting because then
Well,
a
it's an
few days
interesting thing,
later,
isn't it?
well, it's
Well,
it's
like
crazy, right?
this side of reality, it's an interesting one because it's undeniable that there's levels to this reality. And obviously we do the live show and we really go into looking at what has invaded us and where it comes from and what's behind it. And, from the perspective of what we talk about at the live events, we have to acknowledge 100% acknowledge that there is another layer to this reality. And Campbell and I wouldn't really call ourselves, we're not very, what would be the word, Cam? Like we've got a vision and a mission, and we sort of like march forward and we unravel our thoughts sort of like in front of everyone. And, you guys have been on this journey where we speak as we're thinking, it's not like there's a plan and we just speak. And, I guess we're not very sensitive
Yeah.
to the realm, to that other realm, whereas we wouldn't put ourselves in the classification of energy workers or healers or psychics or mediums, that sort of space. That's not really where we've come from in all these years, I would say. I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah, yeah. We just don't, I don't know, feel it like many, many shows. We finish them, and all these, healers and light workers, whatever you want to call them, always come up to us and they're like, oh my God, did you feel this and that? And I was in the corner and I was putting out good energy. And we're like, really? What happened? Right? Because we're just up there talking, I guess. So, obviously a massive thank you to everyone who has done that at all of our shows. Every time there's just people just take it on, right? And they just get up and do it. But yeah, I mean, we don't see ourselves as a big influential kind of podcast. We're just pretty tiny little corner of YouTube. And I guess
Yeah.
we just don't have the thought that people would have their eyes on us, right? Because, we're not that big, right? We're a pretty small little speck of YouTube. That's about it.
What do you say about this, Edwina? You've been with us since day one.
Well, it's the journeys that you take us on that people love. And I think after the first Melbourne, where everybody had just come out of lockdowns, and it was this gathering of souls that had been so locked up and like, oh my God. And it was just the most beautiful, beautiful,
It was.
yeah. And the follow up, I think it because people were saying, oh my God, that was just the best thing. You got to go next year, you got to go that. And I think we were infiltrated. I think there
Mm,
were people there not for the right reason. And,
yes.
What
you know,
when you say infiltrated, Edwina, what do you mean by that statement? Like,
well,
what do you think's
not
behind that?
infiltrated. I do think that there are people among us that are not here for a benefit. They've infiltrated the the freedom movements, all the marches and all of that. People went with the idea that like everybody who was fighting for something all came from a good place. I mean, it's a bit like saying that all dog owners are good people, but they're not. Like the people have their own things, and they want to come and spoil it, or I don't know. I don't know what they
Mm,
want, but that definite second one in Melbourne, and we had beautiful Julie who was, said there were spiders everywhere, and she was bombing them, and
Yeah.
uh, so now we do the chicken dance and we clear
Yes.
the room.
Yes. That came from the second show in
second
Melbourne.
show, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, after
yeah,
we did the community,
that's
this is
right.
why the community follow-ups the next day we love and we do because we get to hear everyone's experience. And from the Melbourne event, that experience was that we had been infested, the venue itself, by basically giant energetic spiders, and they'd caused half the audience to peek out because our audience is sensitive, my gosh, and way more sensitive than Campbell and I on stage. And the community felt it was fantastic because everyone just got to stand up and tell their version of what happened. And once everyone started speaking, the same story came out over and over again. And, Campbell and I really had to take note, and we did. And the counteractive decision from the community on that day was the chicken dance. So now, if you've been to our live events, we start every show with the chicken dance. And I can see why that's true, apart from the fact that chickens eat
Mm,
spiders. But the vibes there, the chicken dance, you're moving your energy, like it brings it up to a certain level. And, it's a really good way to start. But
mm. Yeah, and we got given that after that second Melbourne show. Like someone basically said, "This is the antidote," and we all went woohoo! And then we
yeah,
did the chicken dance, and now we do it
yeah.
all the time.
That's right. And we are very the way TA's unfolded over the years, it's very community sensitive. Like I would say we are extremely community sensitive. We literally will take the experiences on the Sunday and as the community unravels it, and we actually implement what has been, decided. And we love that. And that's sort of like how the live events sort of evolve, I guess. And it's one thing about TA that is my favorite aspect of TA is how this little podcast of ours is like, touched the hearts and of a consciousness around the world and brought together a community of people that, may never have found themselves before, may never have found themselves together, may never have found that gathering space. So that
Mm,
is so important to me. That is probably the heart to me of what this whole thing is about. I mean, I love
mm,
having unraveling our thoughts and going on our wonderful theories of working it out. Obviously, Campbell and I love, love, love that. But I love this more. I love this more.
Mm,
And I would just like to say that every show, I make sure I have a cigarette. This is my little smoking ceremony. Nothing can penetrate around me as I speak, as I smoke and start the shows this way.
mm.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was just going to say, I mean, this also, our very first event is when this all started, right? With Jenny.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's
like
right.
basically we had a whole, venue booked and this Jenny, whoever Jenny is, sent them, I don't know, a 10-page dossier on us telling them how evil and bad we were and that venue cancelled our booking and we literally had a week and we'd sold 500 tickets and we found another venue. Luckily, a really nice guy who'd been the leader of a lot of the protests in Melbourne. But then we got a bomb threat called in. So on the first show, like there was a big effort by whatever to stop us doing that, to stop it. And we really see this as gathering. We don't see it as, come and watch us. It's a gathering, right? It's to do with everyone. I think that's kind of behind most of the shows we do. Like that's our intent. It's not let's get more, how many views can we get or how can we, it's really about
Definitely
connecting
not.
with community,
We
right?
never
And
even ask anyone to subscribe. We
I
don't even think
know we're
about it.
so bad at that, right? So that's what it really comes off. And who are these people? We don't know, right? There's shills out there, there's dark energies, there's confused people, there's jealous people. So, whatever it is, yeah, something just seems to have had its eye on us, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember about 6 months ago, I got that very after our Mulaney show where we really did go deep into exposing the Jewish aspect of all of this, when the Abrahamic aspect of all of this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I got that check for 200 USD in the mail from the Zionist bank in Utah in America. Like, these little random things that happen are definitely I always take note of because these it shows whatever this other side is. I mean, we name it in the live event. We name what we think this other side is, see, right? Um, but it's certainly weaves some quirkiness through. Of course, we didn't just we did a big, we burnt that bastard and did a big ceremony about it. And this is why it's so important for us to have a team of beautiful souls who have their own perspective and their own skill set to guide us through this whole process. So all right, well, I'm
Mm.
just going to tell the story now.
Tell the
I'm going to tell
story.
the story. It's a Siddleback team. I'm going to speak the story out, and I'm speaking to you guys. I'm speaking to the community, and take it as you want. And then, yeah, open for all discussion. I'm hoping that the chat and the comments this show are, full of people discussing this. So, all right, this is the story we want to present today. So. Ladies and gentlemen, settle down, get your tea, roll your smoke, and let's go. All right, so this one's very poignant and has happened this week. So, this week I received an email in the inbox on Monday morning, and I read this email from a subscriber. He's been a subscriber for a while and, subscribed to the newspaper and been following us for a while. And I received this email and I read this email and like I flipped. And let me tell you a bit of a backstory here. So, ladies and gentlemen, last edition, we launched the Fellowship of Friends, which, if you are a subscriber to the newspaper, you would have read the story of the Fellowship of Friends, and we extended a very warm invitation for whoever was inspired to get involved and to sign up and to receive the information pack essentially. And the newspaper laid it all out and what it was. So the Fellowship of Friends came about as an idea that Campbell and I, alongside the community, started to I guess, started to expand and evolve and discuss and communicate at the Jolly Swag Tour when we started to have these beautiful 2-week volunteer gatherings. And we did 3 of those before the event. And so we had this wonderful time around the campfire speaking to whoever turned up, and we never knew who was going to turn up. And there was no limits there. It could be absolutely anyone who was part of our community. And so we had this idea because over the years, Campbell and I have been a really privileged position to hear everyone's stories. That's why we do the Sunday event. So we have time off the stage to actually sit and connect and spend time and listen and hear. And we started to hear everyone's stories, and we started to hear everyone's dreams, and we started to hear everyone's blocks, and we started to listen. And in that listening, we started to form an idea, which was that our community is very coherent when it comes to the same dreams. We're very coherent when it comes to the same desires. And we're all in this situation now, gathered here in this realm at this time in human history, which is very prickly, as we all know. And certainly it's upped a notch in the last couple of weeks. And I know that a lot of people are feeling more ungrounded and more empty and more hollow than ever before. Like nothing is quite satisfying anyone at the same level it did, 5 years ago. That, and I don't know if you guys relate to this, but certainly a lot of people around me are experiencing this, and I have experienced it. And a lot of people online are starting to speak about it. So it's definitely affecting the whole realm at the moment. And Cam and I were like, like, what do we want to do with our next 50 years? Like, we can't be at the murk and mire of their timelines. We can't be in the murk and mire of their intentions, because their intentions, we've all spent the last 20, 30 years debunking. That's the whole truth movement, right? We've spent all this time trying to figure out what the fuck has gone so wrong, and who's behind it, and what's behind it. Is it even human? What is the energetic of the push, and add whatever word, because there's so many words you could add into this space. What is that other energy that seems to be anti-life, anti-human, anti-light? And that we have, since the truth seekers, like, gosh, man, we were good. We were good because we were getting onto this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We could sense that something
Mm.
was not right, and that this lifetime would be different. This lifetime would be a reckoning of sorts, like a time for us as individual souls to make a very clear and powerful decision. And we would have no choice. At some point, we would have no choice but to make those decisions. And of course, that all came to a head in 2020, right? For a lot of people, everyone had to make a decision. And in doing that, everyone chose a pathway that put them in a situation that was quite conflicting. Everyone, there's no one here on this chat, there's no one listening to this that didn't lose friends and family, that did not lose their footing in the reality they had become very familiar with. So many people, moved. So many people lost their jobs. So many people lost their social circles. So many people lost all the little bits of their reality that holds them firm and grounded them to their environment, their experience of I guess a sense of steady footness through these. I mean, we've been truth seekers for a long time, right? All of us, and we've marched powerfully for many decades, but the last 5 years was a reckoning, and we all had to make a very clear choice. Yeah. And I know definitely, Edwina, you went through this, and I
Right.
know that Cam, like, our lives changed dramatically as a result. And this is the true story of everyone, right? So the Fellowship of Friends came about because we wanted to we wanted to carve out a vision, a pathway of what would the next 50 years look like. Like, here we all are, we're all basically the same age. We are all moving into our eldership, to our custodianship. We're all moving into a space where we want to do something with this, whatever that is. So as we listened to everyone, and as we felt the coherence of everyone's thoughts, we understood a few things. We understood that everyone would really love to have some more fun. That was one massive thing, like fun. Everyone really wanted to have more fun. Everyone wanted to gather, everyone wanted to be in connection and physicality, and actually, meet people in real life and not behind the screen. Everyone wanted to have a few more adventures in their life. And everyone was connected by a really strong and clear consciousness. Tartaria Australia is a very clear and strong consciousness. If you've been following us all these years, we're all on the same tangent, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't even enjoy these rambling discussions between Campbell and I. So we're all coherent there. And we all essentially want to leave some form of legacy. And that was very clear and powerful. And we just haven't known how to plug into that concept. Like it's scattered. It's hard to do it when we're all scattered, but there's so many of
Mm.
us,
Mm.
you know? So how?
Mm.
How do we bring about an idea that would encapsulate all of that and be powerful enough that the whole community could get involved and do it with their own discretion and their own desires, and everyone was equal in that space, and we could move forward with a coherent community that could be resourced and start to live in a different timeline. Do you want to add anything to that, Cam, before I
Yeah, I was
continue?
just yeah. I mean, I think what we heard from most people is basically that, right? They want community. They want somewhere to belong because obviously after 2020, that split a lot of people up, families, all types of stuff, right? And a lot of people are still living the repercussions of that, right? So this was the main theme was, we want, to belong to something. We want to build community, something real and somewhere I guess, that we can sort of count on that's going to be safe and good and full of our people yeah, so and obviously we did the Jolly Swag, we did a lot of work on the farm and then the farm ultimately had to be sold, so that got rid of, and that's sort of what started the conversation, right? Is how do we recreate this feeling, this event, this gathering regularly, right? How do we? Because people just loved it, right? People were coming to hang out with us
I
for
loved
weeks to
it.
work, right? And the Jolly Swag was like 3 days, and that ended up going like 10 days for a lot of people. So, we really sort of knew that we were onto something, we'd found something that everyone was longing for, right?
Yeah, yeah. Eddie, do you have anything to say about any of that?
Well, I missed out on the Jolly Swag.
That was the only one though,
Oh,
because you have come to everything else.
Oh, I had such FOMO. And
Mhm.
I can see on the Get Your Shit Hour in the mornings, I mean, like life changing for many, many who were
Yeah.
there. And just the connections. It was, I do feel I missed out, but, and I know that, it was built with love.
Yeah. No,
mm.
for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Eddie's on the Get Your Shit Together hour 5 days a week, and that's something else we started that the same kind of concept, well, it has happened. It's become into this little community, right, of people that gather every day that, love each other and want to help each other, and they're there for each other, right? So it's a space where people can connect in every day, even though it's through the screen, but they're people. Like they
Mm,
can feel like that they're not the weirdo, that they're supported and all this stuff. So that's it's the same kind of theme, right? This is what we're seeing that people want.
Well, I
mm,
want,
Yes,
essentially.
me
You know,
too.
that's what
Yes.
that's what we want. So, all right, settle into the story. So, all right. So this idea formed, and we started to work on it, and we started working with another beautiful team member of ours, Helen, who is just happens to be quite an expert in the area of working within the private. We started to work out because Campbell and I've been looking at the sovereignty journey. We talked about the last podcast. We started to work out how could we utilize this knowledge and turn it towards this idea. And so we understood we could set up a private members association, and we understood we could work with a private trust. And it's not easy, by the way. This is a big body of work. It's not simple. It's complicated. There's a lot to it. It takes a lot of time, right, to get your head around it. And you do need the expertise of people who have done it before.
Yeah.
So we started to move forward in that idea, and we really wanted to use the February edition to launch the idea and to speak on it and invite the community to participate, which we did. But we couldn't move forward with the idea and launching it without a name. The name was eluding us. We couldn't quite land on a name. So this is how the name unfolded, and this is the heart of the story. So, it was in December, it was Christmas time, and I was in Melbourne with my family. And I have two beautiful little twin nieces who are 8 years old. And I have made a commitment to them as their aunt, their little crazy aunt, to every time I visit, that on the last night, I do a sleepover in their bedroom. And they get so excited. Like the little kids are so excited. They can't even talk about it. They're so excited, right? And so the night was upon us, and they had big plans this night. They were going to have their first midnight party. And this was the first time they had attempted this idea. It was top secret from mum and dad, and they were colluding with me, like we're gonna. And so, by 6 o'clock in the evening, as I went into their bedroom, there was like all sorts of random bits of food hidden under the bed. There was a sausage stick, and there was a piece of carrot, and there was a little jar with coconut flakes in it, and then whatever they could steal from the kitchen unnoticed, basically had ended up under the bed in preparation for this midnight feast, this midnight party, which of course is the right of all young people to experience. So it was a very exciting night, and tensions were high, and excitement was high, and so I let them fall asleep, and I promised them that I would wake them up at midnight, and we would have this midnight party. So I went in, of course, I went in about 9:30, not midnight, and went in and slowly, trying to wake them up, and neither of them stirred, and I couldn't wake them up, which was good. So the midnight party is prolonged for the next attempt. Anyway, so I had Christmas with my family and was having a really nice time, and I have a beautiful family around me and behind me, and I love them a lot. And I went to bed. So that night, I had a very unusual dream. Like it was, I note my dreams, and this one, I had never had a dream like this before. In the dream, I was sitting cross-legged and I was chanting someone's name. And not only was I chanting it, I could hear the name and I could see it. So all of my senses were active in this dream, and that's really unusual, really unusual. And so I was chanting his name. So I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning chanting this name. And the name that I was chanting was Edith Singe. An odd name, an unusual name, a very old-fashioned name, not a name plucked from obscurity. This is an odd name. Edith Singe, Edith Singe, Edith Singe. Like the whole night, I'm just chanting this dream. Edith Singe, Edith Singe. And I woke up and I'm saying it out loud, Edith Singe. And as I say it out loud, I reach up my arms onto both sides because I'm sleeping in between two single beds on the floor. Reach up and these two little fingers, these two little hands, they come in and they each grab a finger either side of me. And the glee and excitement that I'm in the room is very strong. And I hear these giggles and this beautiful, I tell this part of the story because this beautiful sine wave, this beautiful antenna of energy was just connecting me with them and this innocence and this glee. And here I am chanting this name. It couldn't have got more of a beautiful scene from my perspective. There's nothing more safe and sound than that sort of energy around me. I always trust any energy where there's the innocence of glee and excitement of children. You're in a land of beautiful reverence and innocence, right? So I get up and I Google this name, Edith Singe. And the first thing that I see is this woman who's passed, I think it was 23. So quite recently, she was an old woman and she had passed. And it said in her obituary, Edith Singe, la la la, passed da da da. And she was a member of the Fellowship of Friends. And as soon as I read the name Fellowship of Friends, I got goosebumps. And I was like, there's our name. There's our name. This is what happened to me. I was like, oh my God, I've just found our fucking name. We can start. Because without the name, I couldn't do the artwork. I couldn't write the story. I couldn't move forward with the idea. I needed the name. I needed to name the container. And there it was. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, Edith Singe. I don't know what just happened then, but we've been guided to this name and it feels fucking, Fellowship of Friends. There's nothing about that name that I don't love. The Fellowship of Friends. It so encapsulates the community that Campbell and I have loved and fostered for all of these years. And so I came home and I left Eddie a message, all excited. I spoke to Campbell, all excited. I let out everyone who was working with. I just was like, what do you think of this name? And everyone's like, fucking love this name and the goosebumps. And everyone was like, perfect, beautiful, wonderful name. And so the actual name is the Fellowship of Friends Trust. Because when you add the word trust in there, it's even better. It's even more amazing of a name. And I just love those sequences of words and I love the space that it creates. And I just think, perfect, what a beautiful name. And that became the name of this idea. And then I went forward and the artwork was made, and we published the last edition with a lot of delays, by the way. Like, I have to note and observe that edition was hectic. Campbell and I, oh
Mm.
my gosh, the
It was
different
hard to get
components.
out, wasn't it? Like
Oh,
just all
wow, was it
these
hard?
obstacles,
There was
challenges.
so many challenges to get that magazine out. Like, and we were on time with the deadline, and then delay after delay after delay. We couldn't believe it. But we pushed it and we didn't stop marching forward. Good morning, Esther.
Hey,
And we
Asta,
kept going.
you're
And
on
we got
mute.
the magazine out, and we got it to your mailboxes, and we launched the idea. And the following weekend, Campbell and I are in Rockhampton, and we're doing our first live event for 2026, which, by the way, was excellent. Loved it. Beautiful. Another example of our amazing community driving so far together. Right. So now let's talk about what happened on Monday.
Fast forward to Monday.
Fast forward to
Yes.
Monday. Everyone, this is Asta, our beautiful Ghostbuster, one amazing woman, part of our team, who looks after the energy around us and the communities we gather. Um, so, Asta, I'm in the middle of the story of what has happened. All right. So I get this email, and this email is from a beautiful member who's just basically informing me that she wants to like cancel her subscription and doesn't want anything to do with us anymore because she has jumped online and researched the Fellowship of Friends and has uncovered that it is connected to a very diabolical sex cult. And that they are essentially a movement that started in the 70s. They call themselves the Fourth Wave. And it's a pretty classic fucking story. They had a charismatic like founder who basically spent years like reading all these work from other people, not from himself. Decided he was inspired by angels, communicated to angels and Jesus and all the stuff, and then founded this movement. On the surface, if you research the Fellowship of Friends, you will see that it's basically a movement of presence. It all feels nice. It's a movement of presence where they're basically saying that we're not awake in this state and we have to like wake up. We have to find ultimate presence. And they were very much about art and creativity and bringing art and creativity around them. And on the surface, it looks nice, right? Um, but then you start to dig a bit deeper. Go to page 2 of Google, or page 3 of Google, or page 4 of Google, and you'll start to unravel a very classic story that we're also used to unraveling, right? Which is the founder ended up sexually abusing many, many, many of the students, male students. So he was a homosexual, oppressed, sexually abusing, using his cult, his leadership, his calling himself an awakened angel. You know the story, like preying on beautiful humans that are just trying to figure themselves out and advance themselves spiritually, preying on them, full of greed, making them pay a lot of money. They have at this point one of the world's largest art collections. They have massive assets, massive assets. They bought land, and they started to create wineries, inverted commas, and sell their wine. Their wine has, if you read the articles, been given to and drunk and received by and ordered by all of the elites. And they sit on this very corrupted, soiled space now where there's a lot of victims coming forward and talking it out about the sexual abuse and the greed and just the essential abuse of this leader who died last year, completely unpersecuted, no anything to deal with his crimes, and has left a wake of, broken souls behind him. And you can go and find this information online. So the Fellowship of Friends is connected to basically, inevitably, a sex cult. And so this is what the email was about. And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked because, from my perspective, this had all come about extremely innocently. I'd had a dream. It was an unusual dream. I was with my twins in innocence in their space, and everyone I spoke to who I trust and is dear to me had the same reaction on it. And we moved forward from that perspective. So for me, the foundations were very beautiful, like very inspired and very beautiful. Of course, I didn't do any deep research on the Fellowship of Friends because I felt like we had been it had been like a gift from
Mm,
my higher self, from my higher intuition. It had been divinely given to us through the ancestors, through the space of love. And of course, I never even thought that the name could be connected to corruption and perversion. Of course, the irone's not lost on us because Campbell and Al literally spent the last 40 years debunking and exposing these sorts of movements and cults. It
mm,
is literally the last thing that we as individuals would ever associate ourselves with and have spent our lifetime actively exposing them and moving away from this corruption. That's what the truth movement is. To somehow inevitably link our movement to a sex cult in our heads would have been virtually, absolutely impossible. There's no way that could have crept into our space, unheard of. And
mm.
yet, here we are, literally a name that has connected us to exactly fucking that. So, just before I end this story and everyone can bring in their own thoughts on the topic, we're now at a point of choice because there's a few things going on for me personally. You know, Campbell and I do this live show, and whoever's coming to the live show this year, you're going to see this live show. And we literally lay out the invasion and we lay out what's behind the invasion. And we talk the story of the voice of God technology. We talk it out. We talk about where it began, the first beings that started to be divinely inspired to take actions, to believe in a God and a divine inspired action that leads to blueprints all the way along the history line and the timeline, right up to our beloved Tesla, for example, and Edison. Anyone who was anyone, and I don't want to give the show away, but just vaguely telling you that anyone was anyone who's ever brought technology onto this realm has had a divine inspired blueprint delivered. And and it started, way back with the origin. It is the origin of religions, basically. And so we talk about this show. So it is not lost on me. It is not lost on me that I have been targeted in this manner. And also to note, in 2020, we've done a few shows on this. There were many people, hundreds of thousands of people around the world that were having Trump dreams. That's what we've called them, Trump dreams, where we would have these dreams about Trump, and they were really emotional dreams. They were really moving dreams, and you felt aligned with him, like you wanted to protect him and support him, like, and everyone was having these dreams at the time, and we've looked at that, we've exposed it, and I had some of those dreams. So I am definitely susceptible, and I have to acknowledge this, and it's a confronting concept for me because it means that what part of my own intuition, my own divine guidance, my own ancestral guidance is at operation through me, and what part is interfered with. And so, thank you to the lady who sent that email because if she'd never sent that, I have never typed in the Fellowship of Friends sex cult. I would never in a trillion years think to examine it in that way. I wasn't even interested because I had just literally was like goosebumps, kids, twins, dreams. This is the name, man. And then all that beautiful artwork, you know? So we're in a situation now as a community where we have to make a choice. And the only way we can do this, because Campbell and I are not going to do this alone. Like the only way we can do this now is hand it to you, hand it to the community. This idea has been handed to the community. It doesn't, it is community orientated and coherent within our community consciousness. So right now, we have a situation where this name that we've chosen through this story, through me, is connected online with a sex cult. The exact thing that our community can't stand, would never align with, and is revolted by. We either have to decide now to change that name, to drop it and change it as a community, or to reclaim it. Because there is a case to be made that everything good shouldn't be connected to such perversion, that everything remarkable in this world ends up being corrupted, that everything so pure ends up being fucked up by this horrible invasive energy that is anti-life, anti-innocence, and anti-love. So we're in this dichotomy right now as a community. Do we change this name Do we reclaim this name and reclaim all the timelines backwards? Was I interfered with? Was Edith Singe given to me from the ancestors of the earth, knowing that this timeline is inevitable, that it's good and strong, and this community is going to pull it off, and we are going to build a new version of a kingdom, and hand down a legacy that can last thousands of years? Or or was I interfered with? And was I interfered with in such a way that we can only expose it right now on the show to our community and let you guys have your say? Was I interfered with, or was I intuitively inspired to reclaim something? What happened in that experience for me, and that for me is I have to go and think about this now. I have to go away and think about this, but I want to hand this story to you, to the community, to think about and make comment and flood our inbox and tell us your thoughts, because what do we do with this story? And the last thing I'd like to say is that the very fact that Campbell and I can sit on this podcast and expose this, the very fact that we can do it in real time and just be honest and tell you what's happened and let you guys decide the outcome, I fucking love. And in that is a remedy and antidote in itself, right? In that, we have a remedy. In that, the exposing of this may be the remedy. But I still want to know, because when you go into these, if you research it now and go into page 2 or 3 or 4 of Google, it's gross. It's gross what this individual represented. It's gross what he did. It's gross how he harmed people. It's gross what he did with money. It's gross what he did. His whole attitude was gross with no repercussions. Classic story. I don't want to be aligned with that. Absolutely not. But are those
Mm.
words, are the Fellowship of Friends Trust, are those words what's aligned with it? Or is it the intention of the community once we expose it? So that is the story. And to note, the week preceding that, we did, as Campbell said, we got warned once, very powerfully. We got warned twice, very powerfully. And we got told that we are being targeted and interfered with. And here it is. Here is interference unraveling and unrolling in front of the community. And here it is. So over to
Mm.
you guys.
Yeah, yeah. So leave us your comments, guys, especially, if you're going to join us in our trust. And just, to say that, Kelly mentioned this to everyone, right? And everyone that she mentioned the name to was like, that's awesome. Like, no one, there was no bad juju feelings or anything like that. It just seemed like, I mean, it seemed perfect, right? So definitely let us know your thoughts on this. Should we keep it? Do we need to change it? Do we reclaim it? How do we go forward here? Now I'll let the girls talk.
Yes, Asta, good day, mate. As
Hi,
our
mate.
official Ghostbuster and energy protector, your thoughts, my friend.
Well, it's always like moths to the flame, isn't it? Personally, I would love to see the name proceed. Um, I I didn't get a chance because I've been working, but I'd really love to know the numbers. What the numbers add up to with this particular name,
Oh, I
adding
hadn't
the
thought of that.
trust.
Numerology.
Yeah,
Eddie can
because
get
Uh,
onto that.
I I
I did
guarantee
that.
it.
I did
Oh,
it. I did it.
You did.
Oh, of course, Eddie's already done
Excellent.
it.
Do tell.
Always on the ball.
Oh. Well, I only did it um, through because I did Georgina Grace's numerology, and it was so it's the soul of the. So I worked out that the soul urge of no, the destiny number is a 149, which is a 145.
What does that mean?
So that
149.
means so you break it down. 1 + 4 is 5.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so the it would be complicated, and I'm
Uh,
probably butchering it, completely butchering it. But I worked out that the soul urge was a 437, and the persona and the expression, but the destiny is a 145. So I know that one's leadership, and 4 is stability, and 5 is freedom.
Ooh, that is
And
powerful.
and is that
Leadership.
for the Fellowship of
That's the
Friends or the
Fellowship
Fellowship of
of
Friends
Friends, the
Trust?
Fellowship of Friends Trust.
Trust. Yeah.
You're
And I
right. That's
and I based it on it being born on the 2nd of the 1st, 2026. So, which was a 134 day.
so sorry.
But
So it's leadership, stability, and freedom.
well, that's just my very, very
That's all right.
basic um,
Yeah.
breaking down of those numbers.
Well, all right. So well, that's a powerful sequence of numbers right there.
Absolutely. Like, are you just going to be pushed aside like everything else?
Yeah.
Or do we put the staff in the ground and say, we claim this? Like, enough's enough, really. I think we're all feeling that.
I
My
I say
personal advice
reclaim,
is reclaim.
reclaim.
Yeah.
Reclaim. So when I told you guys the story of Vita Singe and the name, what was your impression as I told that story originally?
Amazing. It felt amazing.
Mm,
Like you said, goosebumps.
mm,
Um, it really resonated. Like, to me, the Fellowship of Friends Trust, it has this flow. It feels beautiful. The beautiful power words, and yeah, to me, it's there's no beginning and no end. Therefore, it's just this beautiful flow of energy. So yeah, that's how I felt.
And when I remember, Asta, when I told you, you saw an ancestor.
Yes, I did. Indigenous ancestor.
Hmm.
So why would I see that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it was very strong too. So yeah, maybe this is part of it. That it needs to be remedied. This is part of the healing. This is part of reclaiming. This is part of us coming back into our sovereign selves, because just about everything's been tainted.
Mm.
And it's what perspective that you choose to have. You know, we
Mm.
can focus on the negative, or we can, you know, forge forward in the positive.
And Eddie, what did you experience when I told you the name?
Well, I heard it on your voice message on the 3rd, and yeah, it was extraordinary. I mean, it was like, oh my God, because we had, discussed like the name of, look what love did, and, like all of these things. We were thinking, okay, come on. And that literally was, yeah, wow.
Hmm.
It
So I mean,
was.
but like it's the irony that that name would be connected to the one thing our community would be detested by, the one thing that we as a community absolutely cannot stand for, and have spent our life exposing to be connected in that way to that. Like we can't dismiss that. Like it's so it's one in a billion that, I would have a dream that would lead us to that. So do you feel that that I was interfered with to take us down? Because that email basically did exactly what that outcome would be. A subscriber who was very excited by it, read the information, aligned us with that, and wanted to, cancel all of her engagement with it, aligned us and canceled. And that is the exact outcome that corruptive, you know, witchy intention to interfere with our beautiful, idea
Mm.
here as a gathering. Like, we
Well,
can't dismiss that.
it's interesting because we talk so much about, the 2D world, the screen versus the 3D world. And obviously we're all about, getting more into the 3D world. So it is, also interesting that this has come from the 2D world, hasn't it? On a screen, we know that everything on the screen is corrupted. I'm not saying this story is wrong or anything, but I just find that interesting. But ultimately, you've like, what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe Google or are you going to believe people? Are you going to wipe away what people are and what they've done for years just because you see an article? That's, I've got to say that. But yeah, I think it's reclaiming, right? I mean, this is you can look at everything from different perspectives, right? I mean, is all of this to show us that, we are here to change what the world is? Because we know, right? All the e-files, everything's been released, we've got war. So we know there's a lot of evil there. But what are we going to do? Just sit down and go, well, look, here's the evidence. The world's evil. So blah, 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 right? I'm running away or whatever you want to do. Or are we going to say, wow, well, it's the same earth, but we need to change it, right? Like, because that's where we are, right? Are we going to accept the narrative, the story, his story, right? I mean, we talk so much about this. Or are we going to change it, reclaim it, transmute the spell, right, into what we want? Because, I think that's something we need to think about, like, because everything is a message, right? Like the universe is a teacher. And so what's the bigger lesson here? It's basically, one perspective is, are we going to reclaim our power or are we going to be kept being led around the nose by a dead 2D entity that just spits out all this stuff at us? And what are we going to believe more, like the internet and stories or real people? And
Well,
again,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying that none of this is true. It's
there's
definitely
a lot of
true, right? It's
victims.
definitely true,
Yeah.
right? And it's very interesting that it's to do with religion. It was a Christian-based cult, and we spend so much time talking about, the evils, I guess, of, believing things just 100% because someone says it, like the voice of God, all this kind of stuff, Yahweh, or, it's, we talk about this a lot. And it's very interesting that this is the exact story that's being thrown up against us and trying to drag us into being that story when literally we spent the 5 years, talking against that. So, there's a few ironies in there, isn't there?
Oh, there's so many irons.
Need
And
some
one thing,
ironing out.
need some ironing out. Yeah.
Ironing.
So one thing I will take note of is that if this has been an interference and an interesting paradox. It's an interesting paradox because the name's beautiful. The way it unfolded in my space, not just in having the dream, but the environment that I was in was beautiful. Like everything about it is in harmony with where we're going. And yet, it's interconnected with this paradoxical realm of perversion and the very thing that anyone in the truth community would be gassed to be connected to, like that paradox. So either, and I have to say, because as a small YouTube channel, and we're tiny, little corner of the internet, as a small YouTube channel, either this idea is so powerful and the people that have decided to say yes to it. And if you've been sitting on the fence, like this may be that day that you say yes or no, because it is either so powerful and so destined and so meaningful and has so much charge, so much natural world charge, so much earth charge, so much true human charge connected to it that it's going to make a profound and meaningful difference to choosing a timeline with what we do it with it over the next 50 years, that it's so bright, that it's so light, that it has to be like focused on and squelched by the energetic that is in opposition to it, the anti-life, the anti-light. Like that we would be so targeted in this way. This idea is just started. We haven't even put a foot on the soil yet. We haven't even picked up a stone to start laying down the foundations of the first structure. That it would be targeted at this level through me at this point. Like that is notable to me. That is notable to me. So if you've been sitting on the fence with this idea, this is the day. This is the day you get to like decide what you're going to do with the next 50 years in and amongst this consciousness.
Mm,
What is happening? Because either we have exposed a bad intention that was designed to corrupt a magnificent movement and a magnificent idea that is meaningful, that is so bright, it's going to change the outcome for this whole realm.
mm,
We're in that situation right now. And by, fortitude of the wisdom and the heart of all that is around us, that we can get on to this podcast and expose it
mm.
and hand it over
And I
Kelly,
think we all know, right? As soon as you get opposition, it's kind of showing you you're on the right track.
and
So,
how did you feel, Kelly, when you woke up from this dream and it was like a mantra? How did
That's a
you
mantra.
feel in that moment? Like, what was the feeling that you got? You said that you put your arms out and the
Mm,
twins on either side of you held your
mm,
hands.
mm,
I mean, it's so beautiful. You had innocence on
mhm.
either side of you, and I
Yeah.
just want to point that out.
Hmm.
You-
Absolutely.
I
Very
saw
true.
the indigenous being behind you. That's Earth, and
Yep.
then the innocence. I'd really like to think that there was an interference, that actually this is about a remedy for all this bullshit, all the sexual abuse, all the things that we stand for.
Yeah.
A message I always get is there's no way around anything. The only way is through. And sometimes you've got to kind of put your big girl pants on and march through. And
Yeah.
this might be one of
oh,
those
boys.
occasions. Or boys, sorry. But that's kind of how I'm viewing it. But how did you feel, Kelly, when
Yeah,
that
I
happened?
mean, I felt goosebumps, and I was obviously woke up noting the power of this dream and how unusual it was. I mean, I have to say though, in hindsight, I did note how unusual it was. Like it was like all my senses have been activated. Like there was no way I wasn't going to wake up with his name in my mind. No fucking way. But I can relate it also to the Trump dreams because the Trump dreams were also deeply emotional. Like you didn't, I know many of you out there had these Trump dreams and they were emotional. You felt moved, you felt connected, you felt like you were in solidarity, that you were part of this, this movement. And those dreams were led us into where we are today. I am not aligned with Trump. I just he's basically heading this whole agenda right now. He's exposed himself as the head of it, and everything he's doing is bringing about this invasion. Absolutely everything. He is exposed. So those dreams emotionally related me to a man who is basically the heart of the beast. So, and they were notably observable dreams. So, like this interfere. All I can say at this point is that I am amazed, and it's testimony to this movement that this little YouTube channel in this little community, tucked away safe and sound in obscurity, surrounded by nature and dynamic and vital energy and vibrant consciousness, has been targeted in amongst all the shit that's going on in this world, in amongst all the shit, that they would target this little space here and this little community here. Like, it's remarkable to me. That to me says more than anything else.
Mm. Yeah, and if you're out there wondering what we're talking about, by the way, tartariaaustralia.com, up the top, there's a tab that says Fellowship of Friends Trust. Click on that and yeah, it'll explain what our idea with this is. But it's basically getting everyone together, right? Pulling resources so that we can have fun for the next 50 years. That's really the base sort of idea of it.
Yeah, but more than that, it's to do exactly what this cult did. It's to start
Well,
by
that
purchasing land,
land, yeah.
because the dream of all was to gather around a campfire. And the purchasing the land starts as a campground, but ends as a kingdom of thousands of years. And it's
Mm,
handed down. The memberships are handed down through your family lineage. It is a place for us to be buried proper way. It is a place for us to create and generate all the things that are important to us and do it by hand together and
mm,
do it in reverence and in relational relationship with the earth. It
yeah.
is to be built of the earth.
And to take action, to start building this new earth that everyone keeps talking about, right? We can't just wait here and for it to appear and materialize in front of us. We've got to do something, right? We've got to action it.
Yeah. So the basic structure of it, it's very simple. It's a private members association for 2,000 members. And we all put in $1,000 a year, which Campbell and I based on the most marginalized of our community, which we see is like the fucking amazing single mums who are out there raising children in this crazy fucking time and don't have a lot of resources behind them. That's what it was based on, $1,000 a year for
Yeah,
2,000 of us. And that pool of money every single year enables us to not only begin the process of purchasing land within the trust, so no one owns it, no one
exactly.
has
Yeah,
more
we're
of a
not going to have
membership than anyone
control of it.
else.
Yeah.
And you know, every year we as members get to decide together literally what we want to do that year. And it maybe we want to continue building, or we might want to build an airship, or we might want to go on a holiday together. We might want to buy a boat and go sailing for a couple of weeks as a community.
Or
It's
build
all
an
geared
airship.
at the community deciding, but with resources behind them. And any asset that we purchase goes into the trust, which we all own.
Mm. Yeah, and
So
that's why we
that's the
put a lot of
structure.
time into how do we set it up because, we didn't want it to be, Kelly and I, at the top somehow or whatever, or being able to access my, that's not possible in this setup. It's everyone who is part of the PMA that it's they all own 100%, right? Kind of thing. So it's not like, cultish where we can steal all the money. Like that's not possible with this setup, which is why it's taken a long time to get started, to get all that kind of legal stuff correct.
Yeah. And it's no loss. There's no loss in there. It's such a marginal amount when we come together as such a large group that there's no loss. There's only the possibility of adventure and legacy and custodianship and us moving into our eldership. And as an eldership, we get to decide every year what we're going to do with it. And it's just a remarkable concept that allows us to leave a legacy far beyond and allows us to step up as elders and to make choices about, the legacy we want to leave and who we want to leave it for and to. That's what it enables us to do. And that's the basis of the idea. And, like the only other thing, so when this came about on Monday, and I was like, okay, we've got to expose this. Excellent. That's probably remedy number one. We've got to hand it to the community to decide. That's remedy number two. We either reclaim it or we change it. That's remedy number three. You guys today, the community, get to decide if you're in or out. That's remedy number four. A lot of remedies from this one email, huh? From this one misaligned intention of negative energy, not the email, but whatever it was that came into my dreams. So the only other name that's come to me on this whole topic, which is so authentically ours, because no one else will be connected to this in any fucking way, is the Crystal City Trust.
The
That is the
Crystal
only other
City.
name that I could bring forward because Campbell and I brought forward that idea in day one of our podcast, the Crystal City Trust. Edwina, would you do the numbers on the Crystal City Trust for us just to see?
Not right
Not
now.
right. No,
Oh,
not that easy. Not that easy. Kelly,
I
shut
can
up.
do
Shut
it.
up. But that would be my only other suggestion. That's the only other name that's come from Tartaria, Australia, that would literally not be connected to anything that ever existed before. So, do we reclaim the Fellowship of Friends Trust, or do we move towards the Crystal City Trust? And that's the first question, which, please flood the inbox, flood these comments. Eddie, we need to know. You guys have to vote. You have to tell us. We're not going to move forward until we are clear on this topic. And because it was only 2 weeks ago, I spoke the words. How do we expand this newspaper? How do we bring it so that the communities around the world who are connected to this consciousness can participate in it? How do we do that? And instantly, the words changed the name. So I am also laying on the table today, was that the same level of interference? Was that interference or was that also a true pathway?
Mm.
Do we change the name? Do we change the name of the newspaper? So that's another thing that you guys have to decide as the
The
community.
newspaper, yes, yes. So Crystal City Trust is number 7, which represents the seeker, the analyst, and deep thinker, embodying wisdom, introspection, and spiritual awareness, which is very interesting, isn't it?
Ugh. Well, that's what I've got. I've got that. They're the two names that have come through me. one came through a dream. Dreams are a mixed bag of fish right now. I have never not trusted my dreams. I've never not trusted them. But I have already experienced dreams that were deliberately broadcasted, so to speak. That's the Trump dreams. They were broadcasted. And was this another one of those broadcasting messages designed to fuck us all up and disable the community and take us off our path? Or was it gifted to us with the elder there, Asa, for us to be wise enough to expose it to seek the remedy? Any thoughts?
Come on, ladies. I'm
Well,
waiting
as
for
I
you.
said, I think reclaim. I think we have all been so triggered lately. There's been a lot of the exposures, the veil is really thin, and people are being easily triggered. And I have been very aware of listening and to a lot of survivors. I have for a few years, but lately more so because I think they need to be heard. I think they need to be listened to, and there are a lot of them in our community. So I just think let's all just work on our trust and how you feel whenever you are involved with Kelly and Campbell, and how you feel when you watch their shows and their events and their thoughts. I mean, and if you don't resonate, like just listen to that. And all I say is just listen to your heart. And I just will say reclaim, because I think it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful name.
Right.
Is Esther frozen? Esther,
No,
oh no, you're just sitting very still.
I just was like, wow, I couldn't say it better myself. I second what you just said.
Ditto.
Perfect. Yeah. I love the other name too, but it's almost like I want to go with the Fellowship of Friends to carve a new pathway. Look, honestly, the way I view things is every single beautiful power word has been tainted. So it's almost like no matter what words you use, especially if they are a high frequency, they've been used and abused.
Yeah.
I want my rainbow back. Thank you.
Yes, I know, right? Look what they did to the
Exactly.
poor old rainbow.
So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what you call it, it's been tainted in some way or used and abused in some way. So we've just got to make a stand. That's my belief. And I love what you said, Edwina. Listen to yourself, follow your own heart. What feels right for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, if you're gonna, seek and you will find. If you're going to look for problems in things, you're going to find them, right? And any, like you said, Asa, any name, if enough research, you'll find something bad to do with it. So,
Sure.
so what are you really looking for? I think that's a question, if you're doing that kind of thing, you might want to ask yourself in the mirror, like, why am I looking for the problems? Why am I not looking for solutions? Because in the end, like, isn't that what this whole experience at the moment is about? It is reclaiming things. Like, look what's going on. They've taken everything, right? The monetary system, the entertainment, the music, the education, like life, freedom, like everything, right? It needs to be reclaimed. Or what are we going to do? Just go, oh my God, it's all tainted. I'm just going to ignore it. I mean, what does that do for us and for future generations? Like, we need to be like Kelly keeps saying, we are the elders now. We need to be the ones to show the way for the younger generations, and throwing up our hands and saying, "Oh my God, it's all, it's all dark, it's all evil. What can we going to do?" Well, nothing. You'll do nothing. If you keep looking for the bad, you'll keep finding the bad. So it is time to really start to trust ourselves and to define what we want to do. Is what do we want to follow? The light or the dark? And there is so much stuff on the internet today, and it's all dark because it's all put out by the same people. And again, that's the program. And you have a choice. You can follow that and believe that. We're not saying you can't, but think about, is that the best path? Is that going to get you the best result? Because clearly it's an agenda because it's everywhere. So, I think it is time to, put the staff in the ground, right? To draw a line in the ground and say, no, no more. We're not going to take this. We're going to take it back. So that's really the question we all need to ask ourselves. But please let us know your comments. What do
I
you think?
mean, see that lighter behind me? I've been using that now for like the last 18 months, that image I created, and it's on my phone. It's the first thing I see on the phone. And then this light in the darkness, I am going to turn that into a product. I'm going to bring it to all the live events. I want to sort of have a light in there because like all I can say is that all of this interference, it all just leads me back to knowing this thing behind me. I can't do it in reverse, is what we are. That we literally have become lights in the dark, and it's bright enough that it's getting attention, and it's strong enough, and there's enough of us that it's actually been deliberately focused on with black magic or whatever. Like it's a testimony to that for me, that there is a shift right now. And, we've spoken all about these like new earth timelines and timeline splits and earth splits. Like it's just like been a theory or a knowledge base for many years now. But like we're there. We are there now, like we're there. You can feel it. You can feel how standing in this current reality feels empty. You can feel how it feels like we're in a cardboard cutout of reality. You can feel how hollow it feels. You can you turn on anything, any device running through the invasive fucking energy, and you can feel it. It's unnerving, it's ungrounding, it's destabilizing, it's completely out of our control. It's completely hopeless in that way. It's completely disempowering for any of us who tuned into it. Like it feels like it's changed. And we are now there, right now, today, we are there. So now we are here at this moment, this conversation, this like unraveling, to make a choice about what we're committing our intention and energy to, and to what consciousness we're going to connect with right now. Because, like, literally, I personally am not going to stand in this current reality. I'm not going to stand in it. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't give me anything. I feel nothing about it. It feels hollow and cardboard. I'm not standing there. And I'm not going to spend the next 50 years of my beautiful existence like, in it, feeling shit. I'm not doing it. I absolutely refuse. My vision for the pathway that is in it, that I personally want to bring about, is clear. It's deeply detailed. I can see it so profoundly. It is not a mystery to me. I have seen it not only through this time, but like time forward. I can go forward 1,000 years and look back at it. I can go forward 10,000 years and look back at it. I can see it. I am moving towards it. The Fellowship of Friends was never a fucking sales pitch. This was an invitation, because I'm going there. Because I've got 50 years on this realm, and I'm going to do something with that. And I'm going to do something and hand it down to the generations that come after us, who are going to be in the fallout of this invasion, who are going to need structures and elders around them to bring them back in to humanity, to bring them back in to their power source, to the earth. So that's me for the next 50 years. That's where I'm going. And I'm not going to sit in this murk and mire. I am not. It does nothing for me at all. So if you relate to that, today's your day. Today's your reckoning. Make your
Yeah.
fucking choice. Decide what you as a human are going to do for the generations that come after you, who are going to be in the fallout of this invasion, and who are going to need the wisdom and the skills that only you have. And they're going to need it in a space, in a container that they can go to. that is there and physically there. And only we can do that. Or you can sit in the murk and mire of this shallow, hollow, dissolving reality. And it's dissolving for us because we've seen through it and exposed it. So it's dissolving and it's inevitable. You're going to be caught up in that dissolution. What the fuck are you going to do about it? I know where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, most of us, most people watching this feel that they're here for a reason, right? They've been called here at this time to make a change. So I guess, it's like you said, Cal, it's decision time. Are you going to make that change? Are you going to stand in your power? Are you going to believe your own thoughts and stand in that? Or are you going to continue to let the outside world, shape your thoughts and your movements? Because, that's really it, right? You're either doing what the system wants you to do or you're doing what you want you to do. And that's really as simple as it gets. What do you want your future to be? How do you want to be remembered? Do you want them to say, oh, yeah, Granddaddy just sat there and did what the news told him, but, he lived a long time? Or do you want them, do you want to be talked about as, oh my God, look what they did. They started something and it's still going. And they made, at the very least, that they made an effort to do something, to make a change and ignored the dark forces, because that's what it is. That's what all of this propaganda and news and entertainment, I mean, it's very, very blatantly obvious at the moment that that's the dark side, and they're trying to lead us down a certain path. So which path are you going to walk down? It's
And how can we
decision
fall?
time.
How can we fall when we are connected as a gathering and we can't fall? Like this happened to me this week, but here we are together, figuring it out, exposing it, bringing in the remedies. We can't fall. This isn't a one-man band. This is not that. That's cults. That is a cult right there. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not that. This is not that. So, and I would say, Cam, off that topic, it would be more like grandma and granddad's depressed. That's what I would feel like, the energetic that, the next generation will be looking at us, their elders, their grandma and granddads, and thinking, damn, they're depressed. They're depressed. And that is the outcome of like not doing something. Yeah. It's depressed. Depressed. Grandma and granddad are depressed.
Yeah. I mean, do you want more of the last 5 years or do you want something different? I guess. The world has definitely changed and there's only one way to change it back, right? And that's to change it back, to do something in a different direction. For
To
things to
to
change, things have to change.
to establish the new timeline, to
Mm,
lay the foundational pillars of the new timeline, literally, physically, in reality, on the earth, to make
mm,
manifest on the earth, our power source, the new timeline.
mm. Yeah, yeah, be a way shower, right? We always play the song The Way Seers Manifesto. Like, do you want to see and show the way, or do you just want to be in line, right? Because I've said it before a lot of times is the actual problem isn't all these evil entities and leaders. The problem is the followers, because without followers, they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you going to follow?
Mm-hmm.
Or, and I'm not, so it doesn't have to be outside you. The best decision is to follow yourself.
Yeah, and to really know that, it's just a matter of turning off the false light, unplugging the false light. Like we're not immersed in it. You just have to pull the cord.
Yeah, we had no internet at the Jolly Swag and no one missed it. Actually, they were probably glad it wasn't there, right? So it didn't interrupt their conversations. There is a different reality out there. And basically, it's a story of all of our history up until, the late 90s that we didn't have this, right? I remember phones on the wall with cords and, unless you were home, people actually couldn't call you, couldn't talk to you. I mean, we didn't used to worry about all this social media stuff. And oh my God, has someone responded? Have I got a like? We just lived our lives, right? So that's what we want, and I think we need to get back to, right? Nature. Get out there. Stop letting, things outside of us control us.
The artwork in the paper for the fellowship was so evocative. Who wouldn't want to go and live in that environment?
I
Who
agree.
wouldn't want to go and create and connect?
Yeah, man. All
It's
you
very
men out
hard work.
there, I know you want to get out in the bush and build cubby huts and, forts, because that's what we're doing. We're just doing it, on a bigger scale.
I found with that artwork, it was like a remembering of home, coming home
Completely, completely. Yeah,
to each other, to the land. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I use the word clumsily a kingdom, because it is a memory of times before the invasion. It's a memory of humanity in relation with the earth and each other. It's a memory where we created beautiful, beautiful things by hand. And it was our natural way. Everything we would ever need to do that is of the earth.
Mm.
And so when we see, I don't know if you realize like the broader community, that artwork, as I was doing it, it's all earth building. There's nothing in that that's not of the earth. And that's why kingdoms of the old realm before the invasion were beautiful. And you remember them, you remember them. There's a soul memory there. Yeah. Mm. All right. Well, team, that's it. That's the story.
Yes,
That's what we've exposed today. And I just don't think there's nothing that comes to our attention, even if it's negatively intended, that can't be remedied by a high enough consciousness, which is the power of this community. It's a shared wiring and firing collective consciousness, and nothing can affect us without an instant and obvious remedy. And this show is that remedy. Mm.
mm-hmm. Now, let us know. Do we keep the name, the Fellowship of Friends Trust, or do we change it? Do you have any
To the
other
Crystal City
suggestions?
Trust.
Yeah,
That's the
the
other
Crystal
option.
City Trust. Yeah.
Hmm.
And have you subscribed to our magazine? If you haven't,
And
what are you doing?
do we keep
tartariaustralia.com.
do we keep the name of the newspaper or do we change it? You know, so these are two things we're proposing today, and now
Mm,
leaving you with a decision to make and deciding, because really today is the day. If you're going to get involved and become a member, do it today, because this is the day. This is that day. You can go onto the website. For anyone who got the newspaper, may I just add, this is in the editorial, the one that's the next edition's at the printers right now. You know, we've organized the next event in Adelaide. We're all on good time. Um, this edition addresses one thing, which is an oversight on our behalf. We forgot how violently opposed our community is to QR codes. And you had to use a QR code to get into. And the reason we use a QR code is because it leads you to a very powerful song
mm,
that we wanted to present. So if you don't want to use the QR code, and because of that, there's been a block. So right there, there's a block, right? There's an interference right there. That's an interference. So, and this is when you're faced with that, when you know you want to see the information, but you don't want to use the QR code, you have to decide to march forward anyway, because this is
mm,
what the whole show about, going with the flow was about. You know, decide how powerful your vision is and march forward anyway. To those who haven't seen it yet, go onto the website. At the top, there's a menu bar. At the top, you'll see Fellowship of Friends, and if you go underneath that, you'll see invitation. Click on the invitation and get that magazine and flip through the artwork and hear the song. And then go to the Fellowship of Friends Trust page and sign up. Sign up to become a member so that when we're ready to invite you to that next stage, we will send you an invitation and the information in the mail. So this is that day. This is your day. So I'm interested to see how much of our community is behind this idea, because
mm.
clearly the dark forces think that there's enough of you that it's
Oh,
going to happen. Clearly. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been having this show. All right,
yes.
everyone. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us and participating today. This is a participatory show. This is a choose your own adventure show. This is where we want your feedback. We would like you to leave the comments. We'd like you to chat. We'd like you to flood our inbox. This is the feedback day. This is an interactive choose your own adventure show like those great old books from the 80s, which I grew up reading and loved.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
much
also,
the ending.
just about the magazine, you all got a golden ticket in there. We've had a few questions about that as well. What you do is you scratch it and
Scratch it.
see what the
And if you,
message is.
exactly, if you haven't scratched it to this moment, go get that magazine, go play that song, and scratch that damn golden ticket.
Yeah,
All right?
yeah. You don't have to use a QR code, but yeah, if you use it and look at the pictures with the song playing, that's basically the experience we wanted to give you. And I'll just leave you with one of my favorite little quotes is nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Thanks, wise old Campbell there.
That's
The
all
wise
right.
old man of
Little
Tartaria.
grasshopper.
All right, guys,
It's
anything
the
you'd like
good
to say,
shit.
April?
It's the good shit hour. Get your shit together. First anniversary this week.
It is
Yes.
poignantly on Sunday. We've done 1 year of the Get Your Shit Together hour. Edwina, you've been a fundamental process of that part. If you weren't there, keeping it all on track, like, thank you for your time and energy there. And
Yeah.
yep, one
Pleasure.
And
year
everyone
anniversary.
and
Love
everyone else who's, a regular on there. And if you want to find out more, tartariaustralia.com, scroll down and there'll be a title somewhere and a link.
Very poignant to note. This show is timed with the 1 year anniversary of the most hearty container we've ever generated, the Get Your Shit Together hour. And we're going to do a special podcast on Sunday to mark that anniversary. So, again, another poignant sign. So, my friends, Esther, any last words?
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.
Well, it's very fun to have you guys both on the show and to share some of our some of the people that guide and support Campbell as we go on this mission and journey. We really appreciate and value you all so much and love you all so much. So, all right, everyone, you have a wonderful
you.
week. I'm going to assume that you're going to get a few signs in your own life, a few runners, as Ramtha would say, in your own life this week. So take note, and feel free to send us an email. All right, everyone.
Lots of
With
love.
love.
Love you all. Stay awesome.
See you
Talk
Lots
next
of
to you
love.
next week.
week.